Interactivity is incredibly important because we're living in an age where students are no longer passive learners. They have to, everything they do is interactive. There are movies where they can get to choose what the ending is. They have so many choices for media now. So shouldn't entertainment and in certain ways education align? Now, the question always is asked of me whenever I talk about this in conferences, are we required to entertain our students? And I say, absolutely not. But would you want to sit for 6 hours bored, waiting for whatever information comes next from the sage on the stage? Or would you want to have control over your own customized learning approaches? Studies show that the more engaged students are, both motivationally and emotionally, the more they return in the long term. Yes, if we have, quiz show type things where they learn on a very surface level at the lowest levels of Bloom's taxonomy, then they may learn facts here and there. But if we reach the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy using things like gaming and kinesthetic learning, then they'll become more engaged and emotionally attached. In the future, we're going to see more and more immersive learning environments that we have to catch up to with the technology. One of the big problems we have as educators, whether we're instructional designers in a company or instructional designers in a government or instructional designers for schools, whatever field we're in, the big challenge is how do we compete with what people are experiencing outside of the learning platform? We're continually moving towards virtual reality and augmented reality. And in a very short time, I believe that these things will integrate on a biological level in the sense that they'll put implants in our eyes, things in our ears, so on and so forth. And it sounds crazy, but that's where we're headed. If you ask most futurists, they'll probably agree. The challenge for a lot of us as learners, and it's happened since the dawn of time, and this is a challenge that technology is going to have to face, and I'm going to simplify the argument, obviously, because it's a short video, is that as human beings, we have basically a limbic system, which is, our animalistic desires, and a cortex system, which tries to meet those desires. And as technology becomes integrated into the whole process, it's going to address both avenues in a learning situation. And you might say, how does that work? Well, the way it will work is you'll be able to go into virtual worlds where you'll be able to meet people and interact with them and learn their stories and so on and so forth. And that will address the limbic system. And you'll see and understand and relate to what the experiences were. And that would be the visual cortex and the parts of the brain that process all these things for us. So I'm very excited to see what will happen in the future. And I hope our students are leaders in these changes. I originally became interested in game strategies and coin-operated games. Because when I was young, many years ago, when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, kids had to put quarters in, and quarters were hard to come by. Money was hard to come by because you couldn't work until you're like 15 or 16, so you had to nag your parents. So I always wondered what compelled people to continually put the quarters in and play. And I always wondered what compelled people to play these games as opposed to doing any other thing. And because really gaming is a lot about frustration. And why did people willingly frustrate themselves in order to overcome and accomplish things that really don't matter in your real life? You could be the king of the world in World of Warcraft, and then you're still doing whatever it is you were doing before you started playing. So the question always fascinated me, and I kind of devoted my PhD to it, and I kind of devoted my research to it, because it's a question that, if answered and incorporated into education, can improve humanity. They brought me the moniker of Dr. Fun because I've brought gaming to things such as healthcare at the University of Stanford and Stanford University Medical Center, the Navy, secret projects across all the branches of the armed forces, ITSIC, which is the simulation conference for the United States military and the government. I've worked in the private sector and businesses at American Express and Siemens. And I've always tried to elevate the content beyond CBTs and clicks and simple captivates, not the advanced ones, because I found that the learners would have a longer term retention if they use gaming instead of the old point and click, because if you show it to them and 10 seconds later you test them, then you assume that they know the material. It's really a poor way to do it, especially when you're dealing with secret work or really important projects where life and death could be a factor. Our students will learn many instructional deliveries through the program. They're going to learn things like audio, pen and paper instructional design, video. But the thing that makes gaming unique and distinctive is kinesthetic learning, in which case they're actively engaged. I hope that the games that the students make will make their learners emotionally engaged and address the other things we talked about, which was all the portions of the brain that really get you excited and motivated and wanting to learn more, as opposed to having the work be, just a drudgery and busy work and wasted time. So that's why I think game strategies and motivation is a critical class, and I hope they enjoy it.